Prabhuji is on the call, so we will be moving on to the next session. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, all the devotees, for joining the call. Please accept my humble obeisances. Now we will be moving on to our next session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, which will be given by Balaram Shakti, His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhuji. Before moving to the class, I will hand over the call to Shri Shyam Prabhuji for a brief introduction about Balaram Shakti Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. A brief introduction
Hare
about
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Yeah, His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhu is a brahmachari devotee connected to ISKCON Chowpatty. Prabhuji completed his bachelor's degree in meteorological engineering from NIT Tiruchirappalli. Thereafter, he joined Pennsylvania State University and graduated with PhD in material science in 2007. While at Penn State University, he took up to Krishna consciousness as a member of Penn State Vedic Society. While at Penn State, he was mentored by His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhuji. After he moved back to India, he chose to become a full-time monk at Radha Gopinath Mandir. In May 2010, after his brahmachari training, he moved to Govardhan Eco Village and served full-time till December 2021. Prabhuji is currently in Chennai assisting his aged parents. Prabhuji is an extremely erudite scholar of Vaishnava scriptures and he travels far and wide teaching these books. He is also currently engaged in teaching many of these books online also. And Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Mataji. This is a brief introduction about Prabhuji. Back to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and thank you for joining the call, Shri Shyam Prabhuji. And so now we will be moving on to the next session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam on Canto 5, Chapter 20, and text 34 to 37. Text 34 onwards. So I welcome Balaram, His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhuji on the call. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for.
Okay, I couldn't see you. Okay, but your name was there, but I couldn't see. Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time and association for us this morning to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. We'll share the screen and I will do the invocation and then we'll get going. Just hold on for 1 second. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamitina. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So we have been discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 20th chapter. So the current topics that we are discussing are from the cosmology, Vedic cosmology. So 34 to 37, because 34, 35, 36, these three verses do not have a purport. So I'll read the verses and translation and then the purport of 37th verse, and then we will see what we can learn today. So 34th, Tataha parastad loka loka nama achalo loka alokayor antarale parita upashiptaha. Thereafter, beyond the ocean of sweet water and fully surrounding it is a mountain named Loka Loka, which divides the countries that are full of sunlight from those not lit by the sun. Yavan Manasottara Mervor Antaram Tavati Bhumihi Kanchani Anyadarsha Talopama Yasyam Prahitaha Parto Na Kanchit Punaha Pratyupa Labhyate Tasmat Sarva Sattva Parihrishta Seed. Krishna Asi. Beyond the ocean of sweet water is a tract of land as broad as the area between the middle of Mount Sumeru and the boundary of Manasotra mountain. In that tract of land, there are many living beings. Beyond it, extending to Loka Loka mountain, is another land which is made of gold. Because of its golden surface, it reflects light like the surface of a mirror. And any physical article that falls on that land can never be perceived again. All living entities, therefore, have abandoned that golden land. Loka Loka iti samakya yad anena achalena loka alokasya antarvartina avastapyate. Between the lands inhabited by living entities and those that are uninhabited islands, the great mountain which separates two and which is therefore celebrated as Loka Loka. 37th. Sa lokatrayante parita ishwarena vihito yasmat suryadinam dhruva apavarganam jyotirgananam ghabastayo arvachinam strillokan avitanvana na kadachit parachina bhavitum utsahante tavad unnahanayamaha. By the supreme will of Krishna, the mountain known as Loka Loka has been installed as the outer border of the three worlds, Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka and Swargaloka, to control the rays of the sun throughout the universe. All the luminaries from the sun up to Dhruvaloka distribute their rays throughout the three worlds, but only within the boundary formed by this mountain. Because it is extremely high, extending even higher than Dhruvaloka, it blocks the rays of the luminaries, which therefore can never extend beyond it. Srila Prabhupada's purport. When we speak of Lokatraya, we refer to the three primary planetary systems, Bhur, Bhuva and Swarga, into which the universe is divided. Surrounding these planetary systems are the 8 directions, namely east, west, north, south, northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest. Loka Loka mountain has been established as the outer boundary of all the lokas to distribute the rays of the sun and other luminaries equally throughout the universe. This vivid description of how the rays of the sun are distributed throughout the different planetary systems of this universe is very scientific. Shukadev Goswami described these universal affairs to Maharaj Parikshit as he had heard about them from his predecessor. He explained these facts 5,000 years ago, but the knowledge existed long before, because Shukadev Goswami received it through disciplic succession. Because this knowledge is accepted through the disciplic succession, it is perfect. The history of modern scientific knowledge, on the contrary, does not go back more than a few hundred years. Therefore, even if modern scientists do not accept the other factual presentations of Srimad Bhagavatam, how can they deny the perfect astronomical calculations that existed long before they could imagine such things? There is so much information to gather from Srimad Bhagavatam. Modern scientists, however, have no information of other planetary systems and indeed are hardly conversant with the planet on which we are now living. So this is Prabhupada's slap on the face of all the modern scientists. Anyway, so actually, every time when I make the presentation, the last part of it or some part of it is left over. And I almost never get to continue it the next time, because next time it's a whole different topic. But this time I requested Her Grace Shamagori Mataji that if I could continue on the same discussion, that I started last time, because I am taking this liberty because I know that Pavaneshwar Prabhu is very exclusively, he has spent a lot of sessions describing the Vedic cosmology. So I am not an expert in Vedic cosmology. So, it's better he speaks on that subject matter, and he has already done a very good job. So what I would do is I would continue the discussion where we left off, and I just, before we start this discussion, again, today's discussion, and possibly I think we may continue this discussion whenever I speak next also, because I have this particular theme in mind, which is very, very foundational to all practicing devotees. So, which was in connection with what we discussed last time. So, but before we continue this discussion, I would like to know how many of you were there the last time I gave this presentation on how does one receive the seed of devotion. So if you can please raise your hands. I just want to get an idea of how many are attending, are not attending it for the first time, because I'm going to continue the discussion and I'm going to just do a very brief recap of what we saw last time. So if in case you were not there for the previous session, don't worry about it. You will still be able to understand. Anyway, so you can please put your hands down. Before I start, a very humble request to devotees. This is going to be an absolutely interactive session, because we are going to, it's almost going to be like a workshop. So you will have to either answer in your chat box or please raise your hands. So please be ready, and if and I'm requesting you to be little attentive, because we are going to discuss something which is very foundational to our own practice of devotional service, which is in connection with the present that we had last time. So I will do a quick recap of what we saw last time and then take the discussion from there. Okay. So if you remember, the last time we discussed on the theme of how to receive the seed of devotion, right? So we saw three, whenever devotional service is described or pure devotional service is described, Bhagavatam mentions that pure devotional service to be ahaituki, yadrichaya, and then we also see that not everyone accepts the process. Some people accept, some people don't. So we saw that if we have to understand how one becomes a devotee, we should be able to reasonably explain the Atuki nature of bhakti, the Yadrichaya nature of bhakti, and we should be able to explain why only some people become devotees and the others don't. Right. So then we saw various steps from Bhagavatam where the word Atuki is used in conjunction with devotional service. Okay. And then we saw that ahaituki means either costless or self-causative, which last time. Okay, and then yadrichaya also, there are many places in Bhagavatam where whenever it talks about someone becoming a devotee, the word yadrichaya comes. So again, yadrichaya has two broad meanings. Yadrichaya means by luck, and yadrichaya also means by someone's independent will. Yadichaya, right? So now, by luck means we saw luck could be generated by piety or luck could be costless luck. And by independent will means whose independent will? It could be Krishna's independent will, it could be the devotee's independent will, or it could be the receiving jiva's independent will, right? So we saw these five possibilities. So then we started exploring each of these possibilities. So does one receive bhakti by luck generated by piety? You know, Why someone is a devotee, someone is not a devotee? Because he is lucky, he is not lucky. Why is he lucky? Oh, he is lucky because he is a very pious person. And this person is not so lucky because he is a very impious person. So if you see bhakti is caused due to piety, then this challenges the ahaituki nature of bhakti, because piety is not synonymous with bhakti. So if piety is causing bhakti, is not costless or self-causative. And also, this is contrary to the Shastric statements. The Shastras say, Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Shumba, Yavana, Sadeh. The Shastras, Bhagavatam very clearly says that irrespective of one's material qualification or disqualification, Bhagavatam very clearly mentions that one's acceptance of bhakti is not dependent on one's material qualification or disqualification. And same with Bhagavad Gita, Api Chet Suduracharo, and so many other such verses. And also, this is not in conjunction with our experience also, because you do see many pious people not accepting bhakti and many impious people accepting bhakti. So therefore, this cannot be a reasonable reason that someone takes up to bhakti due to luck generated by piety. This is not possible. We understood this. The second option, one receives bhakti by costless luck. Again, we rejected this because if one receives bhakti by costless luck for no tangible reason, then we saw that it makes the process of preaching redundant. Because if everything depends on luck, irrespective of whether you preach or not preach, the person is going to become a devotee. So it makes the process of preaching redundant. In that case, the scripture should not glorify preaching, which is not true. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, gopis in Bhagavatam, and in so many other places, people who share the message of Krishna with others, they are glorified. So therefore, it cannot be true that one receives bhakti by costless luck. And option 3, if you say someone becomes a devotee due to Krishna's independent will, we rejected this option also because that would make Krishna partial. If he allows someone to become a devotee and someone else not to become a devotee, that would make Krishna partial. So we rejected this option also, because Krishna clearly says, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. I am equal to all. I don't play favorites. So we rejected the third option. Then we discussed the fourth option, that someone becomes a devotee by the devotee's independent will. So this we saw why someone gets, someone does not get. You may say the devotee chose to give bhakti to this person and not to this person. So then the question arises, then is the devotee partial? Krishna. So we discussed this point. So Krishna is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent. So if Krishna wants someone to become a devotee, or even every single living entity in all this multi-million universes to become a devotee, in an instant Krishna can accomplish it. But the devotee is not omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. He may be omnibenevolent. He may want the whole universe to become devotees, but he is not capable of individually doing that. So the devotee has limited time, energy, limited skill set. So with that, he will definitely try to maximize, his giving bhakti to others. So he will choose a particular geographical area or a particular linguistic zone or whatever. He may choose students or working professionals, depending on whatever he thinks he can more effectively, impact. So therefore, to say that a devotee distributes bhakti to some people and not to others, it cannot be due to partiality. It has something to do with practical considerations, right? So now, if you say that someone becomes a devotee due to the devotee's independent will, it fulfills the Yadrichaya criteria. But what about the Ahaituki criteria? Ahaituki means selfless costless or self-causative. So if you say the devotee's independent will of the devotee caused bhakti, then it is certainly not costless. But is it self-causative? Is the will of the devotee synonymous with bhakti? No. But we saw, but what is the cause of the independent will of the devotee? Why the devotee wills to share bhakti with others? We saw it is due to compassion. But is compassion synonymous with bhakti? No. Compassion is just one of the qualities which is manifested in a devotee. But if you see, what is the source of compassion? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasatesura. By the devotee, by his practice of bhakti, develops all good qualities, including compassion. So it is the bhakti in the heart of the devotee which causes compassion, which inspires the devotee to will. It inspires his free will to distribute bhakti to others, and which causes bhakti. So ultimately, if you see, it is bhakti in the heart of the devotee which is causing bhakti in the receiver's heart. So therefore, this is bhakti causing bhakti. It is self-causative. It is self-causative. So therefore, the Ahaituki criterion is also fulfilled. Right? We saw various verses to prove this point. Right? So therefore, the statement that one receives bhakti by the devotee's independent will is not incongruent to the Ahaituki and Yadya nature of bhakti. So now, if you say that one becomes a devotee due to the independent will of the devotee, now then the question is the devotee acting independent of the will of the Lord? We try to understand this. Because if you say yes, he is acting independent of the will of the Lord, then is he a devotee? Because devotees don't want to act independent of the will of the Lord. They want to align their will with the will of Krishna. If you say no, he is not acting independent of the will of the Lord, then ultimately it is not his will, it is Krishna's will. Then we would do the same problem that the Lord is partial. So we resolved this point, or Srila Vishnachaka Thakur resolves this point by telling that the Lord willingly awards that opportunity to share his mercy with other living entities to the devotee. So the Lord voluntarily surrenders that will to the devotee. So when the devotee is independently trying to share the mercy of the Lord with others, it is not due to and he's not independently doing it, but at the same time, Krishna is not directly influencing it also. So this way we resolved, right? So then we try to understand. So is the devotee, what is it that the devotee is distributing? We understood that devotee is distributing, but what is he distributing? Is he distributing bhakti? If yes, then what does it mean to distribute bhakti? And if not, then what is he distributing? So we saw that, I don't want to get into the whole discussion, but we saw that the devotee can at the most distribute an opportunity for the living entity to gain some agyata sukha. The devotee cannot distribute bhakti because bhakti, the seed of bhakti, is the faith in the process of bhakti that is accumulated over many lifetimes of accumulation of agyata sukha. So at the most, the devotee can give him one or two or a few opportunities for that living entity to accumulate some agyata sukha. So that's all. That's what he's doing. This is what we discussed. And we saw the examples and proofs for that from Srimad Bhagavatam and the comments of the Acharyas. Then finally, this is where we ended, and finally we were going to discuss, but what about the will of the receiving jiva? Does it play a role at all? This is where we paused. We did not discuss this fifth option. This is a quick recap of what we saw till now. So again, we're not going to wait till the end of the session for the Q&A part, question and answers. While we are discussing only, I will pause in between and you can please ask your questions or share your thoughts, comments, etc. And you don't even have to wait for me to pause. In between, while we are discussing something, if you have any doubt, please raise hands. We can have a discussion. I am not basically going to rush to complete this presentation this time. I will continue it time also. The next time I'm speaking also, I will continue this discussion and complete. So till now, this is a recap of what we saw last time. Any quick comments, discussion points, questions based on what we have discussed till now? Okay. If there is none, then we will continue our discussion today. So the point that we are discussing is, what about the will of the receiving jiva? Does it play a role? Okay. So now, connected to understanding the answer to this question is a very fundamental question that every practicing devotee should ask himself or herself. Right. So this is a critical point that we are going to discuss today. And in discussing this, I will answer this question. I am not going to directly answer this question. Okay, there is a more fundamental question that we need to ask ourselves, right? And in answering to this question, we will also find out the answer to this question. What about the free will of the receiving jiva? Does it influence the jiva receiving bhakti? So what is that more fundamental question that as sadhakas we should ask? So this is understanding our own practice of bhakti. Am I practicing Shuddha Bhakti? This is a very fundamental question, because we do hear about bhakti, we do hear about our own sadhana, we do see our own sadhana every single day. But the very foundational question is, am I practicing Shuddha Bhakti or not? We are going to do this reality test today. As I told you, it's going to be an interactive session, so you have to be ready to either type your answers or raise your hand so that I can unmute you and you can please speak. But please interact, because I won't be just hearing, because while hearing, I want you to reflect on many of the points that we are going to discuss today, because this is very foundational. We have to understand this point very clearly. Otherwise, in future, it will lead to a lot of misunderstandings about our own practice of devotional service. What we should practice, what we should not practice, what that I am practicing right now. We should know this. Okay. So, am I practicing Shuddha Bhakti? Okay. Let us do a small exercise here. Okay. So, I am not expecting you to immediately answer yes or no. Right. Let us see a definition of pure devotional service, and then you can share your thoughts. Okay. So the classic definition of pure devotional service is given by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is our, most important definition. You all know this definition, right? Anya bilashita shunya jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. Right. So there are four aspects. Bhaktir uttama. Uttama bhakti, or the highest bhakti, is he says anushilanam. is defined as continuous service or emotions. Krishna, directed towards Krishna, his expansion, forms or others related to him. Anukulyena, with a pleasing attitude. Okay. And then he says, this practice of bhakti should be anya abhilashita shunyam. It should be devoid of desires other than the desire to please the Lord, which means you cannot have any other desire other than the desire to please Krishna. Okay. And jnana karmadi anavritam. Your practice should not be obstructed by impersonal jnana or materialist rituals of karma or other unfavorable acts. So there are four aspects. One is Anushilanam, Krishna Anushilanam, Anukulyena, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Dhyanavardham. Of course, I am not going to go into detail explaining the meaning of this verse, but I am just giving you a very basic sketch of this definition. Is Anushilanam means practice of devotional limbs. Anukulyana means with a favorable mood. Anyabhilashita Shunyam means there should be no other desire other than the desire to please Krishna. And Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam means your practice should not be covered or obstructed by impersonal jnana or materialistic or immaterialistic rituals of karma. Okay, this is the basic definition. Without going into details of this definition, now is my first question to you. Either you can type or you can raise your hands and share your thoughts. Better type. How many of you feel, or you can raise your hands also, how many of you feel that your practice of bhakti is pure devotional service according to this definition of pure devotional service? Okay. Okay. Those who have been typing in the chat box, I think of 12-13 devotees all have typed no. All have typed no. So one devotee says trying hard. Rest all have typed no. And there is one yes. Okay. But practically most devotees have typed no. Mother Gail has raised her hands. Is that because you have a question, Mataji? If not, you can put it down. If you have a question, you can keep your hands up. I will unmute you. Okay. Yes, Mataji, you want to share something? Okay. So most of you have, practically everyone has shared no. Okay. I will pause it here. So if you are not practicing pure devotional service, okay, Mother Gail has raised her hands. Maybe she wants to share something. Yes, Mother.
Yeah, I always have to raise my hand because I can't type. You know, I can't text.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
I was going to say yes, and if the broad definition is if we're trying for pure devotional service, then the service is pure. It's not that my consciousness.
No, I didn't say trying for pure devotional service. I said practicing pure devotional service.
Yeah, for me, practicing pure devotional service means, because some define pure devotional service as if you have that as your goal, then your practice is pure because your intention is pure.
Well, we have to see if that's how it is defined.
Okay.
We will see that. It will let it. We will allow it to unveil as the presentation goes.
Okay, yeah, but I'm just saying that in certain conversations, depending upon the context,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. That's a very valid point. So let's see. Now, those of you who have answered no, please get your chat box and tell me which of these four conditions do you fail? Do you think you fail? Because practically about 20-25 devotees have answered No. So I want you to answer, which of these conditions do you fail? Okay, Tiffany Mataji says, devoid of other desires. Anya Bilashita Shunyam. Induleka Karuna Mataji says, Anya Bilashita. Shamakanta Mataji says, all of them. Sureshwar Sham Prabhu says, Anushilanam. Anushilanam? I mean, oh, you mean continuous practice. Okay, fine. Kavita Mataji says, all. Okay. Okay. There is, okay, most people have answered, the problem is with, I do have some other desires. It's not completely for pleasing Krishna. I do have other things. And some of you have shared some examples for it, So for this reason, practically all of you have answered no. My practice is not pure devotional service. Then my question is your practice mixed devotional service? Okay, there is a hand up. Valli Mataji. Did you want to share something? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
because we are in the material world, we try to do a lot. Yeah, it is always mixed practice. That's what we feel, because we are trying hard, as Mataji said, we are trying hard. But we have to do the Anya also because of the family life, right, Prabhuji? Because we are in the Grihastha asrama. We can't say that that is the only desire for us. But the only desire.
So you do have other desires.
Other desires, but Krishna will take care of the other desires. That's my strong feeling. Once we have the only desire towards Krishna, all the desires will be automatically taken care of Krishna.
Well, I am going to repeat your sentence. If the only desire is to please Krishna, then Krishna will take care of other desires. Which means Prabhuji. So either you have only desire to please Krishna, or you have other desires also. So how can you have other desires and have the only desire to please Krishna?
The priority should be only the desire to please Krishna.
Okay, so the top desire is to please Krishna. The secondary desires are other desires, like that.
The secondary desires will be taken care of Krishna himself.
Okay. Thank you, Madaji. Thank you for sharing. Oh, okay. Now, because most of you have answered no, I am not practicing pure devotional service. Now, my second question to you is, are you practicing mixed devotional service? Okay. So you should not answer it now. Don't answer, please. Many of you are answering, because we should know the definition first. Otherwise, those of you who have answered yes, I will ask you for the definition. Don't answer. Anything we speak, we have to speak according to what is given in the Shastras. We have to see the definition of mixed devotional service, right? So we did this exercise. Is your practice pure? So if not, is it mixed? So let's see what is the definition of mixed devotional service. So where Kapila in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 29th chapter, he talks about 3 shades of mixed devotional service, which he calls it as Sattvic Bhakti, Rajasic Bhakti, and Tamasic Bhakti. Devotional service in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So I will not read the verse, I will read the translation. Please hear carefully, attentively, and then I am going to ask you a question. The angry person, okay, hear it carefully. Devoid of compassion, who worships me. So he worships Krishna for sure, but he is angry, he lacks some compassion, with the intentions of violence, pride, and hatred, is tamasic in his bhakti. So this is tamasic bhakti, or bhakti in the mode of ignorance. And Rajasic bhakti is he who worships me. Of course, they all worship Krishna for sure, in the forms of deities and others. Others refers to holy name and such things. With desires for other objects, with the goal of material gain, fame, wealth, etc., he is Rajasic in his bhakti. Right? Now, bhakti in the mode of goodness. He who worships me, of course, worshipping Krishna is there. with a desire to destroy karma, which means I don't want to suffer. So making his works as an offering to the Supreme Lord, or executing the worship as a duty-bound worship of Krishna, but having a desire for liberation. Liberation means escaping material suffering. He is sattvic in his bhakti. At this point of time, because most of you have answered no, my practice is not pure devotional service. Now my question to you is, does your practice of bhakti fit in one or more of these definitions, these three definitions that we have seen? Please share your thoughts in your chat box. And if anyone would like to share by speaking, please raise your hands. I will unmute you. Okay, Induleka Karuna Mataji says that I will not take names. Okay, there is a desire to leave the world of suffering, so maybe Sattvic Bhakti. Others, please share your thoughts. I would like to hear from you. Okay, in the meantime, Tiffany Mataji, you can speak.
Krishna.
Tiffany Mataji.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I couldn't unmute. I'm sorry. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. When I first came to Bhakti, I had a very deep desire for liberation. And it's something that I'm still working on. It's not as deep as it was in the beginning, but I still have a ways to go. I'm still working on that. So I do consider my bhakti to be sattvic bhakti.
Okay. What about sometimes desire for fame, wealth, and other things? Sometimes feeling angry, violent, anything?
Not at all. Not at all.
Not
No
at
desire.
all. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Thank you. Great. Okay. Gail Mataji.
Yeah, I don't know how you would classify this, because my goal is that loving relationship, right? But at the same time, I am still attached to not having to suffer.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's
You're
not.
still
But that's
attached,
not
not
my.
one.
That's not. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah. So I'm aspiring for a love that's so great that I don't even care whether I suffer. But I am not at the point yet where I don't care. So I don't know how you want to classify this.
Yeah, you have perfectly articulated it, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Induleka Karuna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, my question was also on the same lines. Like when we see others having problems around us, we always try to pray. So there is some desire other than the desire to please Krishna there. Like we are trying to, pray for something or for someone else. Would that come under the Rajasic?
I'm not going to answer your questions right now.
Okay.
But I will hear from you, and after this exercise, I will let that answer come out itself. Let it come out by itself. So thank you. How many of you feel? For this, you can either type or raise your hands. How many of you feel Prabhu looks like a mixture of all three? Sometimes that desire for fame, little bit here and there. Sometimes, and the desire to escape suffering all the time, and sometimes the anger and the violent bouts, they also come. Or so how many of you feel sometimes it's a mixture of two? Maybe not tamasic, but certainly sometimes rajasic, sometimes sattvic, like that, right? So many of you are answering, but generally mixture of three and passion and goodness. Someone says, rightly you read me, all three. Mixture of three. Most people are answering mixture of three. Okay. Fine. Yes, Mother Gail.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat what devotional service, tamasic devotional service is? How is that?
Yeah,
How does that
I
look?
will read. I will read it for you, Mataji. The angry person, devoid of compassion, who worships me with intents of violence, pride, and hatred, is tamasic in his bhakti.
I mean, but is there an example? I can't even think of what that looks like.
Yeah, Daksha is there in Bhagavatam. Yeah, there could be people. Diti is a classic example. She was worshipping Krishna so that she could kill Indra. So Diti is a classic example. There are many examples. Anyway, so most of you have answered a mixture of two or all three, right? Okay, now I will give you a third option now. Let me give you a third option. So, are you practicing mixed devotional service? Most of you have said yes. Okay, now, or are you practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? So, let me give the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti for you, and then I will take a vote again. Okay, so I will not, this is a classic verse, 11th canto. I have spoken this many times. Jata Shraddho Matkatasu Nirvinna Sarvakarmasu Veda Dukmatam Kaman Parityage Pyanishwara Tato Bajeta Mam Pritaha Shraddhalu Drida Nishchaya Jushamanascha Tan Kaman Dukko Darkamscha Vikartayan. So I will summarize it. He says that this is the first symptom of Vaidhi Sadhana. So while we are going to see the symptoms, please reflect about your own practice, whether you have these symptoms or not. Please reflect. You don't have to respond right now, but please. The first symptom is Jata Shraddho Matkatasu. He has awakened faith in the process of bhakti. Whether you have awakened or not, you can reflect. Nirvinna Sarva Karmasu. He is disgusted with all material activities in the sense. Apart from bhakti, he does not think that he needs to do some karma or jnana or other material activities to progress on the path of bhakti. Do you have faith that by practicing the limbs of devotional service as described by our acharyas, you can progress? Okay, this is the second symptom. The third symptom is Veda Dukkatmakam Kaman. He understands that sense gratification leads to suffering. Even though I am, this sense gratification is so attractive, but I know it will eventually lead to suffering. Fourth, this is interesting. Parityage api anishvara. Even though he knows and understands that sense gratification leads to misery, he is still unable to give up sense gratification. He is not able to say no. Sometimes he succumbs, and when he succumbs, what happens? This he says as a fifth point. Jushamanascha tan kaman dukko darkamscha garhe. Unable to give up sense gratification, he sincerely repents for engaging in such acts. These are the 5 symptoms of a Vaidhi sadhaka. Okay, he has developed faith in bhakti, and he does not have faith in any other process other than bhakti. He understands that engagement of sense gratification, even though so much tantalizing, will eventually lead to suffering. He knows that. But still, despite knowing this, he is not always able to say no to sense gratification. And whenever he succumbs to sense gratification, he feels repentant. Okay, these are the 5 classic symptoms. And Krishna's instruction to such devotees is Tato bhajeta mam prita shraddhalu drida nishchaya. Remain happy, which means don't allow your inability to create a sense of depression in your heart. Keep trying happily. That's what Krishna is mentioning. Worship me. Don't give up my worship. With great faith. Don't doubt the process. Shraddhalu. Don't doubt the process. But does this chanting work really? I'm not able to give up my desire for sense gratification. Does the process work? Don't doubt the process. and conviction, Dhrida Nishchaya. The next time you may succumb to sense gratificatory desires now, but next time you be little more determined to shield yourself and respond in a much more favorable way. This is Krishna's instruction. But these are the 5 symptoms, right? Faith in bhakti, not so much faith in other processes. He understands that sense gratification leads to suffering, but he's unable to give up sense gratification all the time. And whenever he succumbs to sense gratification, there is repentance. Now, my question to you is, we have seen 3 definitions. First is, we saw the definition of pure devotional service. Most of you said, no, I don't think I'm practicing. Second set of 3 definitions, we saw mixed devotional service. Most of you said, yes, looks like my practice falls in this category. Now, the third definition here is the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now, my question to you is, of these 3 definitions, which best describes your own practice of devotional service? Which best describes, of course, so I want you to answer this question. Yeah, this is 11.20.27.28. Yes, Mataji, you are right. Okay, please answer this question. Of the 3 definitions that we saw, which definition best describes your own practice of bhakti? Okay, I've started receiving answers, and all answers are same. They're telling Vaidhi Sadhana, Vaidhi Sadhana, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Okay, I will unmute you, Indulekha Karuna Mataji, and then you can share your thoughts. Okay, others can continue, please, sharing your thoughts. I want more people to answer, because otherwise it would not be a proper statistical representation. So someone, Suresha Sham Prabhu says, not able to distinguish between 2 and 3. We will discuss this. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Okay, more answers here. Probably Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, but it depends on the definition of sense gratification. I may be engaging in subtle sense gratification and not every time repenting for it. We can discuss it. Okay. We are not talking about the degree of repentance. The degree of repentance may be more or less, but there must be some trace of repentance. Because if there is no repentance, then you may not even see it as sense gratification. Okay. Okay, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Most of you have answered it as Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now, I am going to tell you something very, okay, practically everyone has answered Vaidhi Sadhana. Okay, Indulekha Karuna Mataji, would you like to share your thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So definitely the first part is okay, that we have awakened the faith. That's why we are here and that's why we are chanting. But I was just not sure about what do you mean by disgusted with material activities. Of course, when we are performing material activities, there is a sense of, oh, why am I doing this? Sometimes there's a sense of frustration. But at the same time, I'm constantly doing it. So I just don't know how can I say that I'm performing Vaidhi Bhakti if that is my position. So.
Isn't it, I mean, the 5th point, the 5th symptom, while engaging in sense gratification, there is repentance. You just said that you have repentance. Right?
So
there is a sense of disgust.
Yeah. Okay. Sense
it will become a little more clear, Madhu.
Yes.
Just
okay.
Hold on for a few minutes.
Yes.
It will become clear.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. And I will now answer Sureshwar Sham Prabhu's question, which is, I'm not able to really distinguish between the second set of definitions and the third definition about Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. He says he is not able to really distinguish between the 2, he says. We will first discuss that point. Okay. So I will go back before even going there. I will tell you something very interesting. Okay. I will tell you, we saw this, which of the three definitions aptly describes your practice. So then here, Srila Rupa Goswami says, after he quotes this Anya Vilashita Shunyam verse, okay, I'm sorry. I will have to again open the just give me a minute. I think I may have to stop the video for a while because it is sort of slowing down the whole thing. Give me a minute while I open. So I will also shut down my video so that I can this becomes a little more fast. I will share the screen. Okay. So okay, whatever I marked, okay, no, it's there. Okay. Okay. Anyway, give me a second. I apologize for this delay. So we have been discussing about our own practice of bhakti. So we saw these definitions. So we saw the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and all of you said yes, is Vaidhi Sadhana pure devotion service. So actually, Srila Rupa Goswami, after speaking the words Anya Bilashita Shunya, he calls this as the Paribhasha Sutra. Okay. So Paribhasha Sutra indicates that any subsequent definition that comes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu includes this definition. For example, after defining Uttama Bhakti, he defines Sadhana Bhakti. And Rupa Goswami says, in Sadhana Bhakti, Bhakti means Uttama Bhakti. And then he gives the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So, in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Vaidhi, Vaidhi means it is inspired by the rules and regulations of scriptures. Then there is Sadhana. And then Bhakti in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is Uttama Bhakti. Which means that Bhakti is also Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyana Anukulyana Krishna Shila. But interestingly, you all said my definition does not fit in the definition of Anya Bilashita Shunyam, but it fits in the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, this is not possible. If you think your practice fits in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, then it has to fit in the Uttama Bhakti also. Why it seems that it is not, we are going to discuss that right now. The exercise that we are going to do right now is a very critical exercise. And I need all of you to practice, participate in this exercise. Ideally, at least most of you, please participate. Hear very carefully and then answer the questions that I'm going to ask you. Because this is about your own practice. This is not a theoretical session. This is a practical session. Okay. So now, okay. Desires are of two types. Desires which are born out of our value system and desires which are born out of our conditioning. I'm going to describe to you what it is. Value system means that which says this is right and this is wrong. This is favorable, this is unfavorable. Whereas conditioning means, so these are the two stimulus. This is stimulus 1, stimulus for action, and stimulus 2. So sometimes you do things because they are right and you refrain from doing things because they are wrong. Sometimes you do things because you like them and you refrain from doing things because you don't like. That is conditioning. So conditioning impels you in the form of likes and dislikes. Okay. Whereas value system impels you in the form of this is right, this is wrong. Okay. The value system can be loosely called as Shraddha, faith, value system, right? And conditioning is called as Swabhava, right? So, and there is always a constant tug of war between the two. Sometimes, you know, you like doing something which is not recommended in the Shastras, which the Shastras say is unfavorable for you. Sometimes you don't want to do something, or you don't like to do something which the Shastras very strongly recommend as being very favorable for your Krishna consciousness. Have you ever had this experience in your life? Or are you daily having this experience in your life? That would be a more appropriate question. What do you think? Do you face this tug of war in your life on a regular basis? Right? There is something which is good, you like to do, but it is not recommended in the Shastras. Something which you don't like to do, which the Shastras very strongly recommend. Right? So this is the classic tug of war between the Shraddha and Swabhava, the faith and the conditioning. Now, let me give you some examples, okay, to get this right. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. And the desire which is born out of the Shraddha or the value system is called as Abhilasha. And the desires which are born out of your conditioning or Swabhava, they are called as Anartha. Okay. Now I will ask you a question. You have to be a little quick in typing this. I will give you an example and you have to tell whether it is an Abhilasha or Anartha, whether it is a desire born out of one's value system or conditioning. I want you to do this exercise. First example, desire to please my spiritual master. Is this an Abhilasha or Anartha? Please answer. Okay. Everyone is answering as Abhilasha, right? This is Abhilasha is okay. You have, which means you have understood it right. You know, desire born out of your value system. Next question. Okay. Desire for opposite sex. Now you answer. Is this Anartha or Abhilasha? Right. Okay, you all got it right. Right. You have understood the point. Okay, one more. Desire to chant quality rounds. What is this? Okay. Yeah, you understood it. It's all, everyone is answering Abhilasha, right? Okay, next. I desire to slap that idiot, that, sometimes you feel like that, right? What is this? Yeah, Anartha, right? This is something that is born out of your conditioning. Okay, now I want you, the exercise that we are going to do is the most important exercise. Okay, I want you all to please close your eyes and do this exercise. Okay, now I am sure at your home you all are actually segregating your garbage, right? So wet waste, dry waste. Okay. biodegradable, non-biodegradable, like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to give you 2 bins. Okay. 2 baskets or bins. I want you to peacefully pick up your Abhilasha and put it in the Abhilasha bin, and pick up your anarthas, what you identify as anarthas or desires born out of your conditioning. I want you to put it in the anartha bin. Okay. So here you are. Please accept these 2 bins. Please close your eyes. Take a minute or so and please do this segregation. Segregate your Abhilashas and put it in the Abhilasha bin, and your Anarthas and put it in the Anartha bin. So I'll give you 1 minute to do this segregation. After that, I'll tell you what to do. Please do it diligently. Put those desires which are born out of your pure devotional value system inside the Abhilasha bin. And please put those desires which are born out of your conditioning, which you are identifying as anarthas, into the anartha bin. Okay. Now, okay, I know you must not have completely exhausted all the possible desires, but whatever you have done, okay, now I want you to do one thing. All of you, please hand over your anartha bin, okay, or keep it aside, okay, and very firmly embrace the Abhilasha bin to your heart, okay. Now I am going to ask you a question. Is your practice of bhakti anyabhilashita shunyam or not? Now you please answer your question. Answer my question. Yes. Okay. Practically everyone is answering yes, right? So now I want some of you to please raise your hands and tell me, why is it that in the beginning when I asked you, that is your practice anyabhilashita shunyam, most of you said no. And now when I asked you, most of you said yes. So what has changed? Why did you change your answer? I would like to know. Please raise your hands and share your thoughts. Yes, Valli Mataji, you want to share? Valli Mataji, can please unmute yourself and speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
very wonderful, Prabhuji. The way we are walking through, it is like a hypnotized mode when you asked us to close our eyes and think about the parts, what we like more and we are unable to do in the daily activities. We like to do it so strongly, but because of the conditioning, we are not able to do. But we want to put everything together and plan our day such a way that we want to do our own wishes only and not anything else. So, and we put all the other desires in other bin and moved it away from our heart and soul. So it is like hypnotized in our minds, Prabhuji. So when we think of what we like more and if we are following those instructions and doing regularly as per what we are thinking, it is really possible to do that. That's why we feel, yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, my question is very specific. Why is it that in the beginning you thought you were not practicing your devotional service, and now how all of a sudden you think you are practicing? That's a specific question. Gail Mataji.
Yeah, because in the beginning we were thinking everything was Abhilash, everything into one category. We were mixing up our,
So now you understand that your abhilasha is different from anartha, right? So, and Rupa Goswami says, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. He says pure devotional service is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. He does not say it is Anya Anartha Shunyam, right? He does not say that. Yes, Sureshwar Shyam Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Like when you expanded the pure devotional service definition with Vaidhi Bhakti also, then yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. So the point is to have a desire which is born out of our conditioning does not disqualify one from practicing pure devotional service. But we have to see whether it is a cherished desire, which is my goal, or is it an obstacle to my attaining my goal. We may have desires born out of lust, but we have to ask, is it my cherished goal, or am I seeing it as an obstacle to my attaining my goal, which might be to please my spiritual master, to attain a relationship with Krishna, to chant very good quality rounds. These may be our goals, but we may also have desires which are born out of our conditioning, which we may identify as obstacles to attaining our goal, right? So therefore, there is a difference. So till now we thought we put all the desires in one bin and thought Abhilasha means desire, but there are types of desires. So, and if you see, Srila Rupa Goswami in describing the stages of pure devotional service, he puts Anartha Nivritti as the fourth stage, right? So they are all stages of pure devotional service. So if he defines pure devotional service as Anya Bilashita Shunyam, then how can he put Anartha Nivritti as the fourth stage, right? So which means in the beginning stages of practicing pure devotional service, there could be anarthas. But your abhilasha has to be very clear. No one says that you have to be free of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride to start devotional service, pure devotional service. Okay. But to perfect pure devotional service, you have to get rid of them. But to start and practice pure devotional service, so the point is Anartha Nivritti. I want you to answer this question. Is Anartha Nivritti a prerequisite for bhakti, pure bhakti, or is it a byproduct of pure bhakti? Is Anartha Nivritti a prerequisite of pure bhakti, or is it a byproduct of pure bhakti? Please answer this question. Right? So everyone is answering byproduct. No one is telling it's a prerequisite. I mean, someone is answering both. It cannot be both. It cannot be both, because if you say, Anartha Nivritti is a prerequisite for practicing pure devotional service, then Anartha Nivritti cannot be accomplished by pure devotional service, because anyway you are already free from anarthas. So how can Anartha Nivritti be a byproduct, right? So Anartha Nivritti is a byproduct. So then my next question to you is, can a practicing pure devotee, can a practitioner of pure devotional service have lust, anger, envy, greed, etc., and still call himself a practitioner of pure devotional service? Okay, practically everyone is answering yes. So now, okay. So now, what is the difference between, now I will answer Sureshwar Shyam Prabhu's question. So what is the difference between Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and mixed devotional service? Why did they seem so similar to Why did they seem so similar? Now I will go back to the definitions and show you why. Okay. I'm going to go back to the definition. This is the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, where you see here, Veda Dukkatmakam Kaman Parityage Api Anishwaram. He understands that sense gratification leads to misery, but he is still unable to give up sense gratification. And unable to give up sense gratification, he sincerely repents for engaging in such acts. There is repentance because he knows that it is wrong. Whereas a mixed devotee, you see here, I want you to notice the words Abhisandaya. Okay. Again, here the word Abhisandaya is used. And here the word Uddishya. Okay. So Abhisandaya, Uddishya means for the purpose of, while a Vaidhi Sadhaka may succumb to violence, he may succumb to pride, he may succumb to desire for fame, he may succumb to a desire for liberation, right? But his active worship is not for fulfilling those desires, right? Whereas for a mixed devotee, it is his intention. Our intention is Krishna Prema, but our obstruction is lust. Our obstruction is anger. Our obstruction is pride. Our obstruction is a desire for fame. But for them, they pray for it. Sukha sampati gar ave kashta mite tanaka om de jagadisha hare. Any one of you is worshipping Krishna in this mode. Krishna, please give me a lot of wealth. Krishna, please take away all my suffering so that I live a happy life. Right? And I'm sure, even though sometimes we may be forced to ask this, we'll be terribly embarrassed. Right? Krishna, I am with this rheumatic arthritis, with this rheumatic pain, I am unable to focus on chanting your holy name. So please do something, we may say. So we are praying for some destruction of suffering because we are unable to focus properly on our devotional duties, devotional activities. Right? So there is a difference between, even though you may see a mixed devotee engaging in some materialistic activities and a Vaidhi Sadhaka also engaging in some materialistic activities, but in reality, actually, there is a difference. And what is that difference? I will tell you now. The difference is performing devotional service while being embarrassed by material desires is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. He is performing devotional service while being embarrassed by material desires. But mixed devotional service is performing devotional service for fulfilling one's material desires. So he is actively praying for it. While a Vaidhi Sadhaka is succumbing to those desires and praying for the removal of those desires. You see, there is this difference in these two cases. Okay. So any quick comments here, because from now on we are going to see some proofs from the Shastras for this concept. But before we proceed further, if there are one or two quick questions or comments, I'll take. Yes, Mother Gail.
So have we established yet whether when we're performing this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, as you have to find it, have we established whether that is pure devotional service or not? Have we said that yet?
Well, we did say that it is pure devotional service in practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is not pure devotional service in perfection.
Right. But it sounds like, remember how I was saying before that if we have the intention, right, then it's pure. So it sounds like it's
okay. Now, it sounds all right, but there is a slight difference. If you have an intention for practicing pure devotional service, then my question would be, then what are you practicing right now?
No. I mean, practicing with that goal of pure devotional service. That's the goal.
That's the
what
goal,
I'm
which
doing
means
now, what I'm
okay.
doing now. Uh-huh.
So basically, it's just a question of terminologies.
I think so.
So
I think
yeah. So with the intention of achieving the perfection of pure devotional service, right? So, but still, which means it is pure devotional service in practice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. Okay, thank you, Madan. Anything else anyone would like to share, add?
Prabhuji, so basically, you are saying there are different gradations in pure devotional service.
Yes, there is, which means there is pure devotional service in practice. There is pure devotional service in perfection.
Yeah, yes, right, Prabhu. Okay.
This is there in all practices. In Karma Yoga, there is Karma Sadhana and Karma Sadhya. In Jnana Yoga also, there is Jnana Sadhana and Jnana Sadhya. Similarly, in Bhakti Yoga also, there is Sadhana Bhakti and Sadhya Bhakti in the form of Bhava and Prema. Okay. Anything else?
So, Prabhu, you'll go back to the same thing, right? Where you started off the receiving bhakti, right, Prabhu?
I am going to go there.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I will address that point. Whether I will get to address it, yeah, I think I will address it today. Yes. Now we are going to do that. Yeah. So now, is there any Shastric evidence for this description of the Shraddha Swabhava dynamics? Is there any evidence for this? You will be surprised. There is ample evidence in Shastras for this. We are going to see this. Please carefully listen. The first, let's see some evidences from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I mean, I'm not even going to quote all the evidence. There is lot of evidence for this. Okay, first we will take from the third chapter, 33rd verse. Krishna says, Sadrisham cheshtate svasyaha prakriti jnanavan api prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. He says, even the man in knowledge of scriptures acts according to his desires. He is in knowledge of scriptures, but he acts according to his desires. All men act according to their desires. What can instruction or threat of punishment accomplish? So in this verse, basically Krishna is telling Swabhava or conditioning is very powerful and it is very difficult to resist. This is what he says. Even those who know Shastras very well, for them to resist it is very difficult. In the next verse, he says, very next verse, he says, Indriyasya indriyasyarte raga dveshau vyavastitau tayor na vasham agachet tau hyasya paripantino. So here, raga dveshau vyavastitau, attachment and repulsion, likes and dislikes, okay, is firmly fixed, vyavastitau, in each of the sense objects, triyasya indriyasyarte. Like, as soon as you look at some potato sabji, you start salivating. But when you see karela or bitter gourd sabji, you feel repulsed, right? So, attached likes and dislikes or attachment and repulsion are firmly fixed in each of the sense objects. He says, Tayor na vasham agachet. One should not come under the control of attachment and repulsion. He says, Tau hyasya paripantino. They are the two obstacles. So now you see carefully, in the previous verse, he said that it is very difficult to resist the desires born out of conditioning, which present in the form of raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes. But in the very next verse, Krishna says, but one should not come under their sway, one should resist it because they are two obstacles. Now I'm going to ask you two questions. Okay, first let me ask one question. The question is, if in the previous verse, Krishna says that it is very difficult to resist this swabhava, then in the very next verse, on what basis is Krishna telling Arjuna, you should resist it? Where will Arjuna get the strength to resist the onslaught of swabhava? On what basis is Krishna recommending, don't succumb to this likes and dislikes or attachment and repulsion because they are obstacles? On what basis? Can you please share your thoughts? While in the previous verse only, Krishna says, oh, even a very knowledgeable person cannot resist the onslaught of one's conditioning. Whereas in the very next verse, he says, but you should not act according to your conditioning. Where will that person get that strength to resist it? That is my question. So someone says higher taste. Someone says practicing devotional service. Yes, Sureshwar Shyam Prabhu, you wanted to answer?
Reading.
Yes.
Reading scripture.
Yes.
Reading
scriptures.
Feeling, yeah.
Okay.
Getting Vaishnava association.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I need a generic answer. Yes, Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, what comes to mind is that, what can repression accomplish? So we have to dovetail our propensities in Krishna's service, not suppress or repress them.
Okay, so dovetailing
or
how?
implement. I mean, I know dovetailing has a specific definition, but whatever we have a propensity for, utilize that in Krishna's service.
So, but that's not what he seems to indicate here. He says one should not come under the control of attachment and repulsion. They are two obstacles.
For one's own satisfaction, I would say.
Okay, what if someone has lusty desires?
Well, direct that lust toward Krishna.
How do you do that? How do you do that? If, let's say,
like, for example,
if
you lust, I don't know, opposite sex, then you should get married, something like that.
Okay, if in married life, if I have attraction to opposite sex, then what do I do?
Well, I heard one time that,
I'm asking, how do you dovetail it? That's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm trying to answer. There's Krishna book, it has, the loving affairs between, Krishna and the gopis. I've heard that we should direct instead of reading like romantic novels, we should read, the romantic pastimes of Krishna.
Of Krishna?
Yeah.
And what will happen then?
Then purification by absorbing our consciousness in Krishna's pastimes. How can you avoid purification?
I mean, I don't know if anyone has tried this when someone has felt extremely lusty. Read the
I don't know.
pastimes between.
That's what I've heard was a prescription.
Yeah, it does not happen that way, even though there is a verse which indicates that, but there is a different explanation for that verse. after the 5 chapters of Ras Leela, there is this verse, Vikriditam Vrajavadobi Ridam cha Vishnor Shraddhanvito Anushunaya Ata Varnito Yaha, like that, Tridroga Mashu Apahinoti Achirena Dira. It says, if one hears these pastimes, very quickly the lust within the heart goes away. It is mentioned. But the explanation of that verse is, if the trace amounts of anarthas and material attachments which are there beyond nishta, that will go away. But if one is within the stage of anartha nivritti, generally when you read those pastimes, lust only increases actually. So it does not happen. Anyway, but thank you for sharing, Mataji. But we will, that's a whole different discussion. Whether we can dovetail our propensities in Krishna consciousness, I think that's a whole discussion. Maybe one of the sessions we will take, what it exactly means and how do we do it, or whether we can do it or not.
That would be beautiful to do. Please do it.
Thank you, Mataji. So the point is, Krishna is telling that it is not possible, it is very difficult to resist the onslaught of our conditioning, but one should see them as obstacles. Now, my another question to you. What does the word obstacle imply? I'm not asking you for the meaning of obstacle. What does it imply? When I say there is an obstacle, then concomitant with that understanding is one more understanding. Okay, that it can be overcome, that is one thing. But an obstacle implies what? Okay, that it is a hindrance. Okay, that is direct meaning. Okay, challenge, problem, fine. These are all synonyms. An obstacle indicates a goal, right? Isn't it? An obstacle indicates a goal, right? If you are aimlessly wandering, okay, if you are aimlessly wandering, and if something is on your way, and anyway, because you're aimlessly wandering, you would just take a detour and walk. You won't see it as an obstacle. But if you have a specific goal, you want to reach somewhere, then it is an obstacle, right? So obstacle means there is a goal. And what is that goal? It could be liberation, it could be whatever. Krishna Prem, right? And who defines that goal? The Shastras define that goal, right? So now we are going to answer this question, okay? And I'm the fifth option of our previous discussion. What about the free will of the living entity, which is receiving? First thing, we have to understand what is free will. That's what we are going to understand right now. Okay. So please hear carefully. This is in Baldev Vidyabhushan's explanation of this verse. His Holiness Bhanuswami Maharaj writes a footnote to give an explanation, which will help us understand what is free will. Okay. So he says, vasanas or samskaras or impressions are means by which experiences of previous lives stay with the jiva life after life. So through vasanas, impressions, experience of previous lives or this life stay with the jiva life after life. Under certain conditions, the impressions activate, creating memory of previous life or this life. Let's say if you had previously eaten a rasgulla and you really liked that rasgulla, right? So, therefore, the moment you look at that rasgulla, it will immediately you start salivating, which means the vision of that rasgulla has stimulated that memory of your enjoying the rasgulla previously. So then desires appear and thus the jiva acts. So the impressions activate or stimulate, creating a memory of previous life or this life. Okay. So, and then the jiva acts. So even though vasanas or impressions are powerful to instigate the jiva to action, they do not make the jiva powerless to make his choices. Now the question is, when the jiva is acting according to his impressions or vasanas, is he not exercising his choice? That is my question to you. Please answer this question. When a jiva is acting according to his desires, likes and dislikes, is he not exercising his choice? Okay, everyone is answering yes. Okay. Suresh Sham Prabhu says no, it is conditional. Right? So now, is it the jiva's choice or is it the choice of the three modes? That is my question. Right? Of course, without the jiva is only choosing, but is it the jiva's choice? Is it the jiva's desire or is it the three modes? Right? Three modes. Like say, for example, I will take your question, Mother Gail. I will just elaborate few things and then I will unmute you. So now, so therefore, free will, according to Shastras, the word free will is defined as when someone acts according to free will or willpower, you may say, as the way it is used in the secular world, means to choose, to act, to choose something because it is right. Okay. And not to choose something because you like it. Let's say, for example, you all are, most of you are parents, I think. So would you tell your child says, kindly enroll me in a good, you know, I would like to join an Ivy League school. I'm giving this example because most of you are from the United States. If your child says, I would like to join an Ivy League school, okay, Yale or Harvard or Princeton, whatever. So you tell, oh, really? Then would you tell your son or daughter, do you have the willpower to study 10 hours a day? Right? Or I will tell you another usage of the same word willpower. Do you have the willpower to spend all the time browsing internet, playing video games, checking your WhatsApp messages, and whatever? Okay. So both are grammatically correct sentences. If the father asks the son, do you have the willpower to study 10 hours a day to get into Yale? This is one sentence, grammatically right sentence. Or if the father asks the child, do you have the willpower to keep watching NFL, NBA throughout the day? Do you have the willpower to keep eating junk food throughout the day? Do you have the willpower to keep browsing the internet and throughout the day? I mean, both are grammatically correct sentences. But which of these two looks like the correct usage? What is your understanding? How is the word willpower used generally? Or first, right? You're answering first. Yeah. Because so willpower means to do something because it is right, even though you may not like it. But to do something which you like whether it is right or wrong, it does not need willpower. Because even this is even in secular world, the word willpower is not used in that particular way. So free will means to make a choice because it is right, based on a value system. Okay, when you actually choose something purely because you like it, your likes and dislikes are defined by your impressions, which are a byproduct of the three modes. So it is not the jiva who is making the choice, it is the three modes which are impelling him to. So it is not the jiva's choice, even though the jiva is making the choice, because an inanimate object cannot make choice. The jiva is making the choice, but it is not the jiva's choice, it is the three modes choice. Right. So I am going to read this line, hear it very carefully. Free will of the jiva exists along with his experience of vasanas. So which means, you see, there are things here. One is free will, another is vasanas. The free will comes from the value system, and the vasanas come from the condition. This enables the jiva to choose the advice of the scripture over his material desires. So which means, when someone is choosing the advice of the scriptures over the material desires or material vasanas, that is actually exercising the free will. Otherwise, the person is purely acting according to his vasanas. Right? So therefore, the point is, we were discussing what about the free will of the receiving jiva, one who is receiving the opportunity for Agyata Sukriti. Now my question is, does he strictly have a free will? He can make choices, but he is exercising his free will? Because free will means an understanding of what is right and what is wrong according to the scriptures. So a materialistic person who is not exposed to the scriptures, he does not have a value system which is based on scriptures. So according to the way in which Shastras look at free will, in one sense, even though he can make choices, but he is not exercising his free will. So therefore, the free will of the living entity exists only with a value system. Without a value system, an understanding of what is right and wrong, when a person is helplessly acting according to his likes and dislikes, he is just tossed around by the modes and he is not exercising his free will. That is the understanding. Yes, Mother Gail.
Actually, before you gave these definitions, I feel like I was going to say something similar, that, you know, unless you have the option to neglect your conditioning and choose your values, you don't actually have free will. Free will means
exactly
you have that option. Yeah.
Perfect. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. So therefore, a person who does not have devotional service, who has not yet received devotional service, who has not yet developed faith in the scriptures, does he really have free will? He can make his choices, but he really does not have free will, independent will. He does not have independent will because his will is severely influenced by the three modes. Therefore, he does not have an independent will. That is the answer. Of course, we could discuss it very elaborately, but I will just not immediately do it. We will see one more example, and then we will see how we are doing with time. Okay. So another example from Bhagavad Gita, same chapter. Krishna says, Ata kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya baladiva niyojita. So Arjuna is asking this question to Krishna. O Varshneya, O Krishna, Ata kena prayuktaha? By what force? Ayam purushaha papam charati. Does a man engage in sinful acts? Papam charati. Anichan api. Even though he is unwilling. Baladiva niyojitaha. As if by force. Right. Now, my question to you is, can you identify from this verse, can you identify the words which Arjuna is using? Can you identify what are the words which indicate conditioning? What are the words which indicate his value system? What are the words that Arjuna is using which indicate his conditioning? And what are the words which indicate his value system? Okay. Okay. So someone says force. Force. Krishna is telling Baladiva Niyojita. That force indicates conditioning, right? And then Balad. The unwillingness, Anichan, indicates his value system. Icha. I don't like to do it. So don't do it. No, but someone is forcing me. So what is forcing? So your conditioning is forcing. So who is telling, then where is that unwillingness coming from? The unwillingness is coming from a value system which says this is wrong. Okay, so Anichan indicates value system. Okay, and then he is using the word papam. Okay, he could have told, instead of using the word papam, he could have told karyam, activity, but he is telling sinful activity. You see this choice of words, by what pushes a person to engage in sin. So this choice of word, papam, that he uses, what does it indicate? What does it indicate? It indicates his value system, right? Because papam means something which is forbidden, right? Forbidden where? Forbidden in the scriptures, right? So papam indicates conditioning. Sorry, not conditioning. His value system. He sees that this is not a good activity to perform. So you see the choice. So here Arjuna is presenting this dynamics. While I don't want to do it, I am forced to do it, which is his condition, right? So another verse I will take, the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, right? This is the okay, Mother Janaki has raised her hands. I will just pause. I will just see these two verses and then I will again take. So these two are very, very critical verses. Please hear carefully. I will end my presentation with this and continue this presentation the next time we meet. But please hear this carefully. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Krishna says, dadami buddhi yogam. I give the intelligence to whom? Tesham satata yuktanam, to those who constantly desire to be with me. So these people constantly desire to be with Krishna. Bhajatam priti purvakam. They worship Krishna with great love. Okay. Yena mam upayantite. And by that intelligence, they will attain my direct association Krishna. Okay. So here he says that, satata yuktanam, they constantly desire to be with Krishna. And bhajatam priti purvakam, they worship Krishna with great love. Okay. And in the very next verse, Krishna says, Tesham eva anukampartam aham agyanajam tamah nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. So Krishna says, Tesham. Tesham means to them. Tesham eva anukampartam. To show favor to them. Here, them refers to whom? So Krishna starts the verse by using the word them, Tesham. Them or Tesham refers to whom? That is my question to you. Who is Krishna referring to here? Tesham refers to whom? To those who constantly desire to be with Krishna, right? That's what you are talking about, right? He says, Satata Yuktanam, they constantly desire to be with Krishna. Bhajatam Priti Purukam, they worship Krishna with great love. He is addressing them, right? But what is he telling? He says, Tesham eva anukampanam, to show favor to them, aham, by myself, Atma Bhavasto, situated within them, Nashayami, I extinguish Agyanajam Tamaha. I extinguish the darkness born of ignorance. Now, Krishna just told that they are Satata Yuktanam, they constantly desire to be with Krishna, and Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, they worship Krishna with great love. Can such people have darkness born out of ignorance? This is the question, right? Let us see Srila Baldev Bhushan's explanation of this verse. Okay. Very, very interesting explanation here. I'm going to read this sentence. Okay, this sentence. This is not a paragraph for your information. This is one sentence. There is only one full stop here. So please very attentively hear this statement that he is telling. For those who cannot maintain their lives without me. Okay. He's talking about such people. They cannot maintain their lives without Krishna. For my unalloyed devotees alone. So he's calling them unalloyed devotees, right? I reveal in the Atma my dazzling form and qualities and destroy the darkness in the form of desires for object other than myself, born from ignorance in the form of beginningless karma which covers knowledge by the lamp of knowledge. Now, here he says, these are unalloyed devotees who cannot maintain their lives without Krishna. And Krishna says, I destroy the darkness in the form of desire for objects other than myself. Now, my question to you is, can an unalloyed devotee have a desire for something other than Krishna? Can such a person be called an unalloyed devotee? That is my question to you. Is Krishna talking about two different persons here? One is an unalloyed devotee and another is a person who has desires other than the desire to please Krishna. Is he talking about two persons or one person? That is my question to you. So everyone is saying one, same one person. Now my question is, where does this unalloyed nature exist in this person? And where does this desire for other objects other than Krishna exist? Please answer this question. This will tell whether you have understood or not. Where does this unalloyed nature exist in that person? And where does that desire for objects other than Krishna exist? Where does it exist? If it is the same person, then you should tell where does it exist? Unalloyed means values, and desire for other objects exists where? In the conditioning, right? In the conditioning, right? So now my question is, do you fall within this category. So now this is where my question is, can these desires coexist? Desire for conditionings and desire for, desires which are born out of one's conditionings and desire to serve Krishna, right? That is the point. So at this point, I will pause and, maybe one or two questions quickly we can take. Anything anyone would like to share as add? Yes, Janaki Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Dandavata.
previously, before the 10-10 verse, we were saying that even though we don't want to do it, but we do it under the influence of the three modes, but the free will is not actually getting exercised. So
Yeah.
my question is based on that. And when the jiva is under the influence and is performing the sinful activity, does that mean that they are performing intentionally, or they are under the modes of material nature and they don't know if that's right or wrong? Even though, let's say, we say a lot of things that are forbidden, and if this particular individual is doing it, knowing that this is forbidden.
Yeah. Then if he knows that it is forbidden and doing, which means he is unable to resist the onslaught of his conditioning. His conditioning is too strong. So he knows the consequences. He knows the consequences, but still, if he is not able to resist, it means the power of the strength of faith is weak and the strength of conditioning is too strong. That's what it means.
What if the performing individual doesn't even know the consequences? The desire is to attain Krishna. The desire
Which
of
means,
doing.
what he does not know, whether it is wrong or right, he does not know.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter to them that that's wrong or right, but the desire and goal is to achieve Krishna, and then they don't know. Scripturally, they don't know really that this is like, oh my God, activity, and
does he even, you did say that it does not matter to him. Do you want to rephrase it? Is it that it does not matter to him, or is it that he does not know?
He does not know, and at the same time, because they are absorbed in.
Because if you want to please someone, you definitely want to know whether a particular activity pleases him or not, right?
Yes. So if Krishna says,
so he may not know whether this particular thing pleases him or not. That's what you mean to say, right?
Yeah, that is one thing that I have in mind, but I'm giving an example to explain my question. That is that Krishna on the battlefield say to lie, but we know lying is not good. But to please Krishna, we have to lie. And so if an action of a sinful act is performed, and then the desire is to please Krishna, the goal is to do perform bhakti in that mindset.
Okay, then he will not be penalized, in that sense. If the desire is to please Krishna, but you don't really know whether it will please or not, you end up doing an activity which will displease Krishna, but thinking that it will please Krishna. Then when you come to know about it, if you regret, oh, what did I do? I should not have done it. Then it's fine. Yeah, that we always do certain things which we do end up doing something which we think which is favorable for us, but we may eventually know that it is unfavorable. Then we feel regretful. Oh, why did I do that?
And Prabhuji, this feeling of regret, if that is dawning to you slowly, it's not like giving the full forceful effect that, oh my God, this happened. And I'm saying that remorse or that regret comes to you or dawns on you eventually that, oh, this happened. And so now you understand, oh, I wish I knew this was forbidden, or I wish I knew this was something I could have done under proper guidance. Then I would have probably not done it, or done it in a way which was still okay scripturally. knowing that there are desires and the goal is to please Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I think Prabhuji got dropped off.
Yes, ma'am.
I lost my internet. Okay. Am I still a co-host to unmute devotees?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, okay. Induleka Karuna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm not sure if we heard the answer to your question, Prabhuji. I mean, to the question by Janaki Mataji. So Mataji was asking the question and you got dropped off.
Yeah, I couldn't hear her question completely. The last part.
Okay.
Maybe she can quickly paraphrase her question so that.
Yes, Prabhu. My question was that while the desire was there and unknowingly that they might have acted in a forbidden way, and eventually they realized, oh, this was the experience
Inappropriate.
they tell you that the experiences tell you, right, that what we was trying to do was inappropriate, and now it dawns on you, oh, what happened was like not supposed to happen, but at the same time it happened, and that individual doesn't say that they want to go back in time or change it because they brought them closer to Krishna. Eventually the experiences eventually
that's okay,
is
Mataji.
trying to force the individual that, hey, that whatever happened and now you are more closer, and so stay on track.
Yeah, true. I mean, as long as you are regretful that you unknowingly chose something which was unfavorable for your devotional service, thinking that it was favorable, then as long as that regret is there, I think it's perfectly fine. It's okay.
Okay. And later on, maybe you will clarify about free will and other things. I'm just looking forward to see that connection further if there is more.
Yeah, we can discuss more on that.
Thank you.
Next time. One last question, Induleka Kurna Mataji, and then I think we will have gone past.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for such an interactive class. I mean, and so many things that we still have to think about and consider. So in that regard, I just have it is a silly question. This is with regard to devotees. So according to this definition, everyone here is a pure devotee by practice. And so then if there are, so we talk about Vaishnava aparad. So if there are sins or anything that somebody commits wrongfully or does wrong to you, because they are pure devotees, we should be quiet about it, and is that how it works, Prabhuji? Because it is due to their own conditioning, right? That's how we understood in the last two verses. So it is due to their own conditioning. Krishna will help them get out of it. We don't have to take any action on our side, and we don't have to talk about it either. Is that?
You can protect yourself. You are allowed to do that. Without pulling that devotee down, you can try to protect yourself. That is definitely allowed.
Okay.
And as you rightly said, Krishna will take care of his conditioning.
Okay. Even if we fall to such a situation, it's Krishna is definitely going to help us. It is not like we are going to go down. Krishna will always be there to pull us out of this illusion, influence. Okay, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dear devotees, if we have no other questions, we can wind up the call here. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful association and class, and looking forward to the next session. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhu ki jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.